March 1st, so it'll be about a year when we started. But now I'm a software engineer at Twitch. Um, and I'm really excited to talk to you guys about confidence and communication as an engineer and how to succeed in your apprenticeship. If there's one thing that at least for my cohort and even the cohort after mine, that all of us have found is that the more questions you ask, the more you learn, and then the more that people tend to like you because then they talk to you a lot. So if there's one thing to take from this whole thing is, yeah, communicate, ask questions, and don't be afraid to ask questions, even if you think it's a dumb question, because it's probably not. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them along the way. I'm pretty terrible at looking at the chat. So if I don't see your question, just unmute yourself and what's it called? Interrupt me. That's the word. All right. So let's see. How do I do this? There we go. Okay, so a bit about me. I grew up wanting to be in a science of some sort. My parents are both chemical engineers, so I kind of just grew up in that. I went to BU for my undergrad and got a degree in nutrition and food science. But really quickly, like even before I graduated, figured out that lab work wasn't for me. So I kind of just finished the major and then went on to work for Urban Inc., specifically Urban Outfitters and Anthropologie as a home buyer. And then right before the pandemic, I felt like making a change. Probably wasn't the best idea to do it, but I did it. Didn't know what was coming forward. But I went into recruitment at a company called Michael Page. And then about like June of 2020, June or July, can't even remember now. I got furloughed. And that's when I made the decision to go to Flatiron School's software engineering bootcamp. Started that in October of 2020. And then actually someone in my cohort there linked to the Twitch apprenticeship program at OnRamp. So I just decided to apply randomly one day and somehow was selected as one of the 6. So then I started that apprenticeship in March. And then once that was over, I was converted into an L4 software engineer in September. And that's where I've been ever since. Yes, Flatiron, woo! Good times. So I guess let's talk communication. So a lot of tech companies, I feel like, don't try to start you out super slow. So don't be afraid if you go into Coinbase on Monday and they just like tell you to set up your environment and start giving you tickets all of a sudden, because it will happen and it is scary. But I will say, once I converted, I assumed things would get easier. But even now, after a year of working in the same code base with the same team, I find having to learn and ask questions. I find myself having to learn and ask questions just as much as I did in the beginning. So imposter syndrome is super real. And also everyone feels it. Even my lead engineer talks about it. So it's definitely, don't feel alone when you feel like you shouldn't be there, because you definitely should. You deserve to be where you are. But the great thing about imposter syndrome is that everyone feels it. And remember that you're not alone in your feelings. Okay, so the best thing you can do with imposter syndrome is coping with it. I feel like the saying is always like, fake it till you make it. And I think that that's like the dumbest thing to do in this scenario. Just ask the questions and don't pretend like you know what you're doing. Sometimes if you don't know, you might not be the only person in the meeting who doesn't know what's happening. So you asking the question relieves that pressure for other people. But also, like, they've hired you on as apprentice. They know that you're newer to the space, like you're a junior engineer currently. So they're expecting you to ask questions. So don't fake it till you make it. Please just ask your questions. When it comes to having confidence in what you're doing, I don't know. I have a script, and honestly, it's so hard to look at a script. So I'm just going to talk. But let's see, where am I in the script now? Oh, okay. So basically, I have a list here, and I took it from an article that I read once. But I think they're really great strategies to overcome the overwhelming fears of imposter syndrome. So the first one, acknowledge, validate, and then let go. this is one that I do all the time. I just like acknowledge the feeling that like I'm like, I don't know what the F I'm doing right now. Validate it's okay that I feel that way, and then just let it go and kind of put my ego aside and go ahead and ask the question. Um, Instead of internalizing the emotions, share how you're feeling. So instead of like internalizing the emotions, share those feelings with someone else. You might find that someone else has also felt the same. Also, my biggest tip is to reach out to each other. One thing that I think made my cohort super successful is that we continued talking post this like month long on ramp side of things. So even though we weren't on the same teams, we kept up like a monthly Google Meet for like a half hour where we just got to like catch up, talk about anything we don't like about our team or things that we're confused on still, and just help each other out in that way. And I think we still do that to this day, even though we haven't been apprentices for a couple months now. So yeah, that's my biggest tip. Stay connected to each other, talk to each other via like Slack DMs, set up a meet every like automatically sets itself like every month. A really good way to just have like someone there. Also, yeah, I'm not sure how Coinbase, if it does it differently than Twitch, but we got like a mentor on our team that like I ended up meeting with my mentor like once a week during the apprenticeship, and now we meet like once a month ish. But definitely reach out to them. Everyone has like a different way to learn, and the best thing your mentor is just a great resource for finding the ways that you learn like they'll have the resources for you. So for example, I'm someone who like absolutely hates video tutorials. If you send me a YouTube video, I will not watch it, or I'll watch it at like 2 times the speed and not get anything from it. So for me, like documentation or like really good like blog articles are like ways that I learn really well. So I went to my mentor asking for like great resources on how I can learn a certain concept via like an article. Whereas someone else in my cohort, Lisa, she's very big on like pair programming. So every week that her and her mentor got together, they would pair program one of her tickets with each other, just until she felt super comfortable. So use your mentor as a way to kind of get that one-on-one learning, and use the way that you know that you learn the way that you know how you learn to like milk that out of the mentor. And then learn from your team members. The people on your team are great engineers, and you can learn a lot from how they operate on their own and with each other. So use your team's dynamic to keep you on the path towards success. And then also share your accomplishments too. I think, especially here in the beginning, you're going to just feel like, just from experience, you're going to feel very overwhelmed with the amount of stuff that you still don't know. And even a year in, I'm like, there's still so much I don't know. But when you figure out something, when something goes right, you get a bug fixed or whatever, like share those accomplishments with yourself, with your peers, with your mentor as well. That way, you're communicating good as well as the questions. Okay. I always meant to change the title of this one and I never did, but I really hate this title, but it's kind of true. But anyway, so when it comes to software engineering, communication skills are, I think, the second most important skill you can have to be successful. But it's kind of top tier with learning how to learn too. So the first skill is learning how to learn, and how you learn. That's something that's going to just help you and put you at an advantage. And then communication as an engineer, I think it's always easy to forget because as an engineer, you're kind of just on your computer on your own. But as an engineer, you are on a team and nothing you are doing is alone. So the more you communicate about the obstacles you're facing or the blockers you come across, the more your team can be there to help you and get you to the finish line. And the same with the team. I think I feel like, okay, in the beginning, I felt like myself and also others in my cohort, we felt almost as if we didn't really add any value to the team. We were just like another programmer. But the truth is that sometimes there are questions that like you actually can answer for somebody else. So the more that the team is communicating with each other, the more you can help others, others can help you. And it's kind of this whole fun little camaraderie thing. Um, yeah. So I think the next slide is some tips. Maybe. Yes. Okay. So my biggest tip, I guess, in learning or into communicating better is using your sprints as a gauge. So I'm pretty sure in this last month, you guys have had sprints with the project that you've been working on. So every week you kind of get new tickets, you know what to work on, and you get through it, right? Am I wrong?
Oh, true.
Okay, cool. So that's kind of how work is also. You're just given tasks at the beginning of your sprint. You estimate the time on them. You track how long it's going to take you, and the end goal is that by the end of the sprint, you're done with all your tickets. But as I'm also sure that you've figured out in this last month, that doesn't always happen, and it's extremely common for a ticket to take a lot longer than you thought it was going to take, or a lot shorter. That you're not going to get through all your tickets by Monday for the next sprint. So don't stress out about that at work, but do take ownership over it. So sometimes it's that tickets aren't estimated correctly, um, or something you'll find with, and maybe you saw it during this month too, that like a ticket you couldn't do because someone else was working on something. So until that went into the code base, you couldn't work on your ticket. That happens a lot with like other teams. Like you just have to wait for another team to finish something before you can work on something. So that ticket's going to take a little bit longer, or you might not be able to finish it by the end of the sprint, or you ended up helping someone else with their tickets. So now you're a little bit behind on yours. Um, or my least favorite, but also favorite, maybe you're the on-call, and you got paged a lot because like your service went down for a bit. So there were more important things to handle than your tickets, and therefore you didn't get your tickets done. But regardless, shit happens. And that's why communication is really important. Being vocal at stand up or check in is how you can mitigate any of these issues arising. So the more vocal you are about that time estimations on your sprints, and on your tickets, and like the how long you feel like it's taking you, what you're getting blocked on, the more you're communicating about that, the better it is for your team. Because it's also very, how do I put this? It's so the way that sprints get like allocated is usually your manager and like your project manager will like add the tickets to your sprint, and then at the beginning of the sprint you kind of look over and review them and estimate the time on them. If they don't know that you have like 2 tickets that are probably going to roll over, then they're going to overestimate your sprint and give you more hours than you need, and now you're going to get even more behind and more behind and more behind. So yeah, really communicating about that time estimation on the sprints can help not only yourself but also your manager and your project manager being able to plan out the next sprint. Yeah. So okay. This is what I get for not using my script. So sprints, I'll go back here. I use them as my gauge because I feel like it really gives me a good indication of if I'm estimating the time correctly on my tickets, and if I'm taking too long on, and therefore I understand like what I'm still having trouble with and what I can learn maybe on my own time or ask for another ticket doing something similar so I can really get that concept down. And I think during check-ins or stand-ups, every team calls it something a little bit different, but during stand-up, it's really easy to then just express those thoughts, and that way have that blank line of communication with everybody. So I like to use my sprints as a gauge, and it's my biggest tip. And then here's some other tips from other apprentices in my cohort. So set yourself up for success from the jump. The more questions you ask, the more your team will expect that you'll ask those questions, and it becomes easier for you and them. So one of the apprentices in my cohort had a really similar thought process to this. She, at the beginning, she was like, this is my excuse and my time to ask all the questions, no matter the dumb ones. I don't know anything right now. And right now, everyone expects me to not know everything. So it's easier to ask the questions now. And as time gets on and I know more, I can ask less. But she really set that expectation with herself, her mentor, and her team that, like, I'm here and I'm asking questions and I don't care about it. And then another apprentice on my cohort, I felt he had like a really good quote. So I just put this in my little spiel here. But he was like, you're a baby. They hired you as a baby, and babies need hand holding and help. So ask for the hand holding and help. And I think that's a really great way to think about it. My manager also, when I first started, gave me similar advice in a more brutal sense, but I'll give that to you guys too. She was like, don't not ask questions because you think you'll sound like an idiot. You were hired on as a junior engineer. We already think you're an idiot. So ask the questions. And yes, it's a little brutal, but I think it's a really great way to just think about it in the beginning. Like, they're hiring you, they brought you on as an apprentice. They know that you're a junior engineer. They understand your background. So they understand that they're going to expect a lot of questions from you until you kind of get the hang of how being an engineer works at Coinbase. So it's totally okay to be communicating effectively there. The truth hurts. It really does, honestly. But, you know, it was good. It gave me it like blew my mind for a second. And then I was like, she's right.
I wrote that down. I'm actually going to say
it. Yeah. And then what is this? Use your team's dynamic to your advantage. Yeah. So every team works a bit different. And I think, are you guys most remote? Or are you going to be in the office?
Remote.
Remote. Okay, cool. Yeah, so we are remote. I'm still remote. When we'll go to the office, who knows if we go to the office. But communication methods, because of like the remote work, gets a little bit different. Like, I've never experienced it, but my lead engineer has told me all the time, you know, like back when it was in the office, it was really easy for the lead engineers to kind of look over and see when the junior engineers are struggling without them like having to ask for help. But over Slack, that's like not really possible. So really using your team Slack channel to your advantage is a great way to start. I think for myself, and this might also be kind of a moot point for some of you. It really just depends on your team. My team, for example, is a completely remote team. The only person who actually lives in the Bay Area is my manager. And I have like on my team, we have like, I'm in New Jersey. There's like a few people in Texas. There's someone in Alabama. We got someone in Australia. Like, we're kind of all over the place. So we don't all work the same hours. And because of that, our best line of communication is our Slack channel. So it's really easy and probably like more, what's it called? Beneficial for me to like, if I have a question, I just post it in the Slack channel and like wait a couple hours because someone's probably not online. I'm the first one to get online. So it's probably going to take like 2 hours for someone to answer because they're not online yet. But as long as it's in that Slack channel, one, everyone can communicate to it. So everyone can have an answer, but also everyone can see it. Other teams, like depending on your team, it might be just easier to DM somebody rather than like putting it in a Slack channel, but kind of using how your team works in that way is also pretty beneficial. I also found that I felt most comfortable in the beginning asking the other L4s on my team. So the way, what's it called? Twitch is under Amazon. So we use like Amazon's lingos, but L4 is like the intro software engineer, usually like the people who just came out of their computer science degree. And then I was an apprentice, so I was like pseudo and L3, even though that doesn't make sense. But what's it called? Yeah, I felt really comfortable asking the other L4s on my team in the beginning. So we actually have like our own little Slack thread, the three of us, where we can like ask questions that were like, I don't want to go to my lead engineer yet. If you guys don't have an answer for me, then I'll go to him. But, you know, just finding your little like pods within your team and within each other that you can ask questions to also is really great. Okay. And then how you ask questions, again, will depend on your team. But here's some tips for how to frame it. So first, make sure you've tried something, whether it's investigating or researching, implementing, whatever it is. Try what you think would be the right answer. And if you're stuck, ask yourself, can I Google this? And if you can, Google it. I also like to ask, how long have I been stuck on this? This kind of goes back with using my sprints as a gauge. If my ticket says I estimated the ticket at 3 hours and I'm an hour in, so I'm like a third of the time done, and I'm stuck, it's time to ask someone for help so that hopefully I don't go over those hours. I might, but at least I'm not taking up all of those 3 hours trying to figure out something and trying to get something that I'm not going to figure out unless I ask somebody. And the moment I ask someone, this is like also the greatest thing about working with other engineers who are a lot senior. Sometimes when you ask something, like you could have been racking your head around something for like 2 or 3 hours. And if you just ask somebody, they could literally tell you in 10 seconds how to fix it. And it's just like one of those things. It's like, rack your head around it, get burnt out, or just like ask the question and get the answer immediately. So I like to use that. Like if I've used more than a third of the time on my ticket, that's when I just go and ask for help because I don't want to burn out on that ticket. And then if I ask, do I know what I'm asking? And this is like, just get some context before you're asking that question. So be specific, know what you're trying to do with your input and output, and like what's the bug or whatever the task is that you're doing. What do you have, like the information you have and what you're trying to get it to. Be specific on that. State what you've tried. So tell them like what implementations you've tried and why they didn't work. And then about framing the question, I always say ask for advice rather than asking for help. Mm-hmm. And it's just like a reframing of the wording you use. So instead of saying, hey, can you help me? Reframing as like, hey, I've tried this and this and this. And if you have any ideas of what I could do, let me know. That just kind of helps with yourself for the mentality of the question. Just thinking of it more as like asking for that advice rather than being like, I don't know what I'm doing. Can you help? Can you help? It just helps. I found that reframing really helped me in asking more questions. Oh, and then this is what I was just talking about. What might take you 3 hours, someone on the team can show you in 2 minutes. And I've had this happen to me still to this day. Actually, on Tuesday when I was supposed to be giving this, they or one of our services went down and I had to help with it. And we ran into this where me and the current on-call, we were kind of racking our heads around it for a bit. And then the guy on my team who lives in Australia, he comes on a little bit later than everyone, and he came on and like within 5 seconds was able to show us exactly what to do, and we were able to get the service back up and running. But yeah, what might take you 3 hours, someone on the team can show you in 2 minutes, and that's why it's never the wrong answer to ask a question. Okay, and that's basically it. My conclusion is literally just don't be afraid to ask questions. The best thing you can do while you're an apprentice is ask those questions, even if you think they're dumb, or like even if like it's a dumb question, like being like, hey, what's a string? I know like obviously we all know what a string is, but like just ask the question. Frame the questions so they have context. And it's between asking the questions and finishing your sprint. Definitely ask the question is my way of thinking about it. And that's basically my presentation. If y'all have any questions or just want to ask about what it feels like to be an apprentice, I was in your shoes, not at Coinbase, but I was in your shoes once, so I can give you the goss. the T, I don't have any other, I don't know, whatever. Yeah, Angie.
My question is, like, when it comes to working with your mentor, how did that work? Like, did you guys meet once a week? What did you guys talk about?
Yeah. We did at the beginning met once a week for like a half hour. And it kind of is like it is your time, so you can talk about whatever you want to talk about. If you don't have something to talk about, sometimes me and my mentor is like really into like deep sea animals. So sometimes we would spend like literally the half hour just like learning about a squid. And honestly, like, did that help me in engineering? No, but I made a friend. So it really is like you can bring whatever questions you have to the table, even if it doesn't have to do with your tickets, just like a concept in engineering in general, something that maybe you write on your own time or something in like a class you're taking on your own time. Your mentor's kind of is just, or also even like sometimes some of the questions I would come with was like, how do I deal with the dynamic of someone on the team? Sometimes maybe you'll clash heads with somebody on the team, and it's like, how do I talk to this person? You can go to your mentor and ask that. But yeah, whatever you want to talk about with your mentor is what you can talk about. And sometimes also, I didn't have something to talk about, and I would just tell him we can cancel the meeting. So it's up to you. It is your time. They don't have like a set of like, I should be teaching you this all the time, whatever. So it's up to you, and you can also talk about absolutely nothing. Yeah, go ahead.
I actually did think of another question. So while I was doing this month of training, I was having a hard time managing between like doing the work that I was supposed to do and like studying for what I needed to kind of brush up on before I work with Coinbase.
Yeah.
So I was wondering how do you take your time and figure out like when you should study? How do you figure out if you're like overworking yourself too much or stressing out too much about it? Basically that's my question.
Yeah. That's a great question. Yeah, I think it's really easy in this field to burn out really quickly, because it does feel like there is just so much to learn. And also you want to like leave a good impression, because you're hoping to get converted at the end of the experience. I think something one of my lead engineers told me once was like, don't ever work over your hours. And instead just communicate that your tickets are taking a little bit longer. I think that's a really good advice. If a ticket is estimated at 3 hours and it actually took you like 10 hours, that's okay. But just make sure during that time you're communicating that. And therefore, when you leave work at like 5 or 6 o'clock, whatever time you're leaving, like you can just close your laptop and get away from that for a bit. Give yourself, what I like to do is, so my team, we decided to go on like a 4-day work week instead of 5 days. So now I work 10-hour days, Monday through Thursday, and then Fridays I have off. But what that leaves me with is that like Monday through Thursday, I want to do absolutely nothing after work. And studying is really hard to like do something that like on my own time to help me be better at work. So I like to like give myself an hour after work to just kind of like chill and do nothing. And then usually I'll go to the gym, and then I'll go and like try to get like an hour in, and maybe even just like a half hour. But yeah, I think my biggest advice here would be like, don't burn yourself out at work. Like if your tickets are taking longer, just communicate that and make sure like when it's time for you to close your laptop, close your laptop. And then take like your personal time to do what you want to do. And if that means like you might learn things a little bit slower because now you have less time because you're working a full-time job. but you're keeping your mental health and sanity in check. And that's really important in this field. Or you'll get to the end of the 6 months and be like, I don't want to work here anymore, just because of like the amount of work that you put onto yourself. And then I'll also say, like, even though it feels like maybe you're not learning a lot or like you don't know a lot, you're actually learning so much by doing your tickets and just like how to work as an engineer, that it's totally okay if you get a ticket and you're like, oh, I have no idea how to, like, for example, one of the services for my team that we own is written in Ruby on Rails, and then everything else is written in, and then we have one written in Java, and then everything else is written in like Go and TypeScript. When I had to like fix something in the one that's written in Java, literally had absolutely no idea what I was doing. And I, from the beginning of the apprenticeship program, I was like, oh, I should probably take a Java course so I could like just at least understand this language a little bit. Never did the course. But when I got into that program, that service, it was really easy for me to just take the learnings that I've learned doing my other tickets and just being at the company to just take that and figure out how to do it on the spot. And you'll find that a lot. So don't feel like you have to like become a master at whatever language you don't know that Coinbase uses, or like whatever concept you don't know that Coinbase uses. You'll kind of learn as you go, and as you're doing your tickets as well.
That's great advice. I have one question.
Yeah.
I heard you mention that one of your teammates actually works from Australia.
Yeah.
My team is gonna be all in the UK, and I'm the only one on the US. So I was wondering, any insights that you can share about working with an international team and time zones difference?
Yeah. So that's the whole reason my team decided to do 4-day work weeks instead of 5 days, was because myself being on East Coast time, and then we have like 3 engineers in Texas who are on Central time, I guess. We were missing a lot of time with the people in Australia because 6 o'clock my time is 7 a.m. in Australia. So it was like we were just never seeing each other. The way that we would, back when we were still in 5-day, the way that I would talk to those engineers is that like at the end of my day, I would just like post whatever questions I needed from them, like either in a thread that we had or like a Slack DM or on the channel. And then like when I came back the next day, I knew that I could work on whatever that question was because they were going to answer it while they were on call or on shift. It definitely is a weird like experience of like having to just like, it's more like you just kind of have to plan. Like if you know you need to ask somebody who doesn't come on until like the moment or like 2 hours before you leave, it's like work on other things until that person's on, or those people are on, and then you can like ask those questions while you guys have like that time block together. But yeah, that's kind of like the best advice I can give.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's definitely a weird experience, but you'll get used to it, and you'll kind of like learn your own groove of like, okay, I'm gonna do this ticket now because like I'm gonna call someone Sam. Like Sam doesn't come on until like 3 o'clock my time, so I'll work on this until 3, and then I can ask Sam this question, and then I can work on this other ticket. So you kind of just like get your groove.
Very nice.
Yeah. You guys excited to get started?
Yeah, Monday. Wednesday is the day when we actually begin with our team. So yes.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And we got the presentation coming up, so. Any tips for the presentation? That's a good one. Yes.
I mean, yeah, I will say don't feel nervous. It's really actually, or it was like a lot of fun when we did it, and everyone just like is excited to see what you guys have been doing for the last month. And I'm sure like I feel like or at least the way that like what ours went afterwards, my mentor was like, we didn't expect that you guys had done that much. They did not ask to see code. Yeah, but yeah, he was like, I didn't expect that you guys did that much. That was a really cool presentation. So for the most part, everyone's just like really excited to see what you guys have done for the last month, what you've learned, and just get like insight on like who you guys are as a cohort.
Nice.
Yeah.
Was there a particular question that they asked about your presentation or your project that you remember for any reason?
I do remember, and it's funny now, that's why I remember it, that my mentor specifically asked a question on like time and performance about our app, and none of us had an answer about it. We were like, oh, didn't even look at that. But now just knowing him, I think that's funny because he's like the last person to think about time and performance with his tickets. So it's just really funny. And then they also asked a question I remember was like kind of the dynamic between the team and when there was a maybe like a disagreement on how to go forward with creating like whatever it was on the app. How did you guys get through it? And I thought that was a really interesting question because at the time we were like, I don't know, we just got through it. But now I can see like that person was trying to gauge or like get us to start thinking about like, you know, team dynamics and how you can add value to your team and talk about decisions that need to be made for your service. So those are two questions I remember.
Those are good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, don't be nervous. It's truly actually very fun to do the presentation. And you're already hired, you know, so it's not like the presentation's they're gonna fire you after it.
True.
All right. Any other questions, or I can give you back 20 minutes of your time? Here, I think in the beginning, yeah. There's my email, and then I linked my LinkedIn, but like obviously you guys can't click on that. But my name's Jo Marie Polanco on LinkedIn. Feel free to email me or message me on LinkedIn. I'm always around. I can answer as many questions that way. Even if it's like coding questions, I work in Go and TypeScript mostly. So if you guys are doing that too.
We're doing Go.
Yeah, Go's fun. GraphQL, all that stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. So feel free to message me or email me. Email, sometimes I can take like 2 days to respond. LinkedIn, for some reason, I like lump it in with all my other social medias and I like check it once a day. So I don't know. But yeah, if you guys want to keep in touch there. Other than that, enjoy yourselves. Have so much fun at Coinbase. Don't be nervous. Ask all the questions. And get yourselves converted at the end of this.
Thank you, Jo Marie. So
yeah.
To hear, I appreciate very much.
Yeah.
With us. Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. This was so helpful.
Of course. I'm glad.
Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
Bye.